Hello and welcome to the Bridetender podcast. I'm your host, Estee Gordon-Levin, and I'm here to tend to the brides like I tend to the bar. So mix yourself a cocktail and let's get ready to discuss all things weddings. Today, I'm here with Rolando Roblero, who is a New York stylist and menswear designer with Alton Lane, and we're here to talk all about kind of the groom today, which is a little different.
That's a relief.
It's a little different for this podcast, but we got to give like the grooms some love. So here we are. We're talking about the grooms. We're talking about menswear, what's in, what's fresh, and I want your take on what that is.
Yeah.
So first, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today and making some time for me and like literally turning this into a film studio.
That's nice.
It looks awesome in here. So tell me a little bit, like, how did you get into styling?
Ooh, I love that question.
We're artists here on this podcast.
I am as well. Yeah, I'm glad to hear it. Well, I moved to New York from San Francisco 11 years ago, and I didn't know how to dress at all, and I was told that by a former colleague. He's like, look at this guy, he doesn't know how to dress himself. I didn't know what he meant. I'm like, I have clothes on. What are you talking about? He meant style myself. And I moved to New York to do stand-up comedy, which I still do. And I just was wearing, jeans and, tennis shoes and pretty, T-shirts and stuff. And I just felt like I wanted to stand apart from my other comedians who were all dressed similarly, rock and roll T-shirts and all that stuff. So I bought a blazer from a thrift store in Brooklyn for $15. This ridiculous. It had an English tag, and I thought, this must be quality. It had a little English tag on it. Didn't realize that it fit me terribly. But at the time, it was like the first blazer, so I felt real fancy. And then it just snowballed into, I bought a jacket from Macy's, and my second jacket was a $200 Macy's black blazer thing. And then my third was a $1,500 custom suit from a different suiting company. And I thought I needed to just shoot high, and then and now I'm everywhere, and that's it. I
mean, I love a bargain, so I love when I can go into a place, even like a thrift store, and find something very unique. So I really appreciate that story because nothing sounds better than like a $15 blazer to get you started.
You got to start somewhere.
You do.
You got to start somewhere. I mean, you start with what you can get at the time, and if you can buy a $20 sweater, you can buy a $20 blazer.
Definitely.
So, you could have the sweaters and the blazers. I feel like a lot of people are like, why are you so dressed up? I don't do that every day. You can do all of them. You can dress however you want each day of the week.
Yeah, no, it doesn't have to be the same look every day. That would also be crazy. Like if you were in a ball gown one day and then you're in it every day.
Yeah, yeah, good point. Yeah, tuxedo every day.
Every day. Yeah. So, now, how has everything been going for you? I asked this to a lot of people who come on during the pandemic because I feel like even though the pandemic has been craziness, we've just seen such a spike in everything with weddings.
Yeah.
How has it felt here at Alton Lane?
Well, I came on Alton Lane early 2021. So pandemic was like high, but it wasn't 2020 high, aggressively worrisome and people were freaking out. Weddings were still kind of soft. I mean, a lot of venues were getting moved around. So there were a lot of like, they would postpone the creation of whatever they were getting for the groom. And then have to rush to get it because they found a venue that could only do a certain date. So it was a little bit of that funk. But overall, the company I was with, Charles Terrett, prior to this, 2020 was just the middle of 2020. Obviously, probably for everybody, it was just blank.
Yeah.
We were just all at home in sweatpants. Most of us, some of us, either sweatpants or scrubs. I feel like there was only two outfits
those are the
people
only
were wearing.
two outfits.
But now, there's a huge rush. Last year, August 2021, and now I feel like that was the peak. Like everybody got their weddings in that they couldn't in 2020, and now it's lulling a little bit, and it'll go back up, and we might become normal in 2 years or so. Not me,
know, right?
but
Yeah, no,
in
me
general,
I feel like there's been so many trends, especially now. I feel like a lot of people are like willing to kind of branch out into color, right? Like I'm seeing a little bit more of that, you know, in menswear, in women's wear for weddings. Like, what are some trends that you see right now?
really aggressive jackets, and the rest of the outfit's plain. You know, it's
Yeah.
almost like jackets have become the template for your personality.
Yeah.
You know, it used to be the necktie. In the 90s, you know, it was like, you're a fisherman, you get a fisherman's necktie, you know, and everybody's like, hey, nice tie, Bob. But now it's like, I mean, I don't see a lot of blazers with fish on them, but it's become like, you know, who would wear pink pants? You might wear a pink jacket. So it's the jacket that's become the testing ground
Right.
for how willing you are to be adventurous.
Yeah. Now, I see a lot of like, I see now like a big trend in like with men's tuxes is they're wearing like almost like the shorter pants and the shoes with no socks.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, yeah.
Oh my God, I hate it.
Yeah, we all do.
I thought I was the only one who hated it. So
No.
I was like, when we got married, I told my husband, absolutely not.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a no for me.
Yeah, it depends on the color of the tux. I mean, if the tux is blue, I think you can get away with it a little easier. Black's formal color.
Yeah.
You know, so black without socks is.
I'm hoping that trend
A mistake.
like is over or like going
Look,
away.
if you don't want to wear socks, it's probably because of the venue. I mean, if you're going to like a really, an estate and you're not wearing socks, you
That's so
belong in the
right.
garden essentially.
That's so true.
But, you know, if you're at a beach or something, maybe you pull it off.
Right.
But if you're at a beach, you shouldn't be wearing a full-on black tuxedo. It's too much.
Yeah,
You
it's
gotta-
totally different look, different vibe.
So if you're doing the slipper thing, then maybe consider like we were talking about the jackets, like a cool, like soft color on the jacket, black pants, and then you could do the slipper because the casual nature of the slipper matches the casual nature of the jacket. Don't be formal from the longest hair on your head to your ankle bone, and then all of a sudden it's free game. You know what I'm saying? It's like, come on,
Yes.
yeah. But do it properly. You know, like. When I say properly, I don't mean like you're not necessarily breaking rule. Nobody's going to scold you. But like in photos, you ever look back at yourself? We all do. We look back at ourselves 15 years ago and we're like, oh, my pants are ridiculous and blah, blah,
What
blah.
was I thinking?
Your
Yeah.
wedding date, presumably you're going to be married to this person for more than 10 years, depending on your age, you know,
Yeah.
for a
God
long
willing.
time.
God willing, you'll
Sure.
be married forever, right?
That's the goal, you know, that's the promise. And if that's the case, when you're looking at your pictures, your videos, you don't want to feel like you were following all the other folks who were doing that thing that guy did on that one show that one time. You know,
Yeah.
just do it right.
I know when it came to my wedding day, I was like, I want my look to be like classic, that when I look back, I'm not like, oh my God, what was I thinking with my makeup or my hair or my dress or my shoes? Like, I wanted it to be where I look back and be like, you know what? I was timeless and elegant.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
And I feel like everybody should think that way, but like they don't, you know?
Well, I think part of that is like the less guys are comfortable wearing formal wear, the more they feel like stiff when they do it.
Yeah.
So it's going from Lululemon, whatever you're wearing, to a full-on proper tuxedo is like almost like I don't know, a confidence punch a little bit, because once you're wearing a tuxedo, your movement becomes the focus. You know, how you move in the tuxedo. You ever see somebody in a suit and they're like walking like they're a robot?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It doesn't. You're not really wearing the suit well. The
Right.
suit's on your body and it's on your shoulders,
Yeah.
but it's not. You're not wearing
Well,
it
nothing
well.
drives me crazier than, I mean, just working in weddings with seeing couples, whether it's a bride or a groom, wearing something that doesn't fit them well. Because it's like, that is something that can be changed. It's something that with the right person guiding you can be right. You know, it's like you have to try on different things in order to see what looks good on your body. Every body is different.
Sure.
So, and there's so many times that I see where it's just like, even whether like it's on a man, like the suit doesn't like fit, or like the tuxedo doesn't fit like just quite right, or it's like swimming on them.
Yeah. You know, the issue there is like who determines if it fits well.
Right.
If you don't know it doesn't fit well on you, you're not going to know what to fix to make it fit well. And that's the stylist's responsibility. Which is why, and this is a pet peeve of mine, is you stay with one stylist. It's not Macy's. You don't just go in and pick something up and then wear it and call it a day. This is a relationship with your stylist. When you buy something with one stylist, you keep it going. You keep that relationship going, because in the future you might say, oh, that thing you made me a year ago, I noticed that it's a little this, it's a little that. I wish it was shorter. I wish this and that. And that's the relationship. That's how your clothes fit well over time. It's not just, it's not a machine, you know, this is a living relationship. And, the amazing fit, we try to stay away from the word perfect, because that's like, you'd be chasing that like a dragon, you know what I'm saying?
We'll be chasing that forever, right?
Yeah, just well and comfortable. Those two, well and comfortable. But, that takes time. It takes time to know what you like. You might like a longer jacket one year and then a shorter jacket another year. So
yeah, and it's kind of like even talking about trends, like they do change, just like your style evolves over time. I mean, and thank God, because if I was still going by where I was,
we would all look terrible.
Yeah, I had these American Apparel disco pants, and for any of my friends watching this, they'll know what I'm talking about. I was obsessed with them. Yeah. Like, I literally thought they were my best look ever. And my mom hated them. And she let me know it every single time I wore them. And I feel like they did what they needed to do at the time. But now, now at 30, I'm like, I've retired the disco pants. Like a couple years ago.
Sure.
But
what did they do?
Oh, they
Are they big?
No, they were like super tight spandex high-waisted pants with a button and zipper.
Yeah.
They were my going out pants.
See, that's the thing. So,
they weren't my wedding pants,
No. But, if they come back, if you didn't get rid of them, then you're on trend again.
Yeah, true. So my thing is, I actually am really good at getting rid of things, but I couldn't fully get rid of my disco pants because, they have sentimental value. They were good to me for a bunch of years. Yeah. Even though, everybody else in my life didn't like them, I loved them.
Yeah. What's great, so, my wife, Kelsey, loves Sex and the City, and I know I've seen every episode and with her, some without her, but most with her. And, what Carrie Bradshaw does, Sarah Jessica Parker, it almost looks like every outfit is just like something she grabbed from her closet from some time in the past. Yeah. Put together, and it works. And it's almost like that's what makes her influential. Not because she looks like every magazine cover, because it wouldn't be influential. It would be something you've seen a bunch of times already. Yeah. But it's that she grabbed the disco pants and the new top that she just got yesterday and paired these two things with a decade in between them. And that's what gives the punch.
I know. My favorite,
guys can do the same thing.
My favorite outfit of hers was like that tulle skirt, and I'm just like, I love like a tulle skirt. Obviously, it's for a very specific thing that you might attend, but it was so iconic, And I feel like on your wedding day, you want like your look to be like iconic, but also you don't want to like look back on it and then be like, what was I thinking? And I feel like in today's times, speaking on like the bridal dress side, like we see so much lace and very form-fitting, where in a couple years from now, we'll probably see things that are totally different.
And what are those things? Are we supposed to forecast them?
I know. See, I wish I had like a crystal ball, because I would love to know. But
yeah. I don't know.
What do you think the trends are going to be in like menswear? Like, what do you think is next?
I feel like both solid color flats and textures. Maybe not overlapping. I think not a solid color texture, but solid color flat and a textured fabric. Like textured tuxedos, I think are underrated. Texture usually doesn't shine, and you would like your tuxedo to be not completely matte, just because it's, I don't know, it's not. It doesn't reflect. It doesn't. You're not a star. You're just kind of a guy in a what looks like a suit.
I like when the groom wears something a little bit different than the groomsman, but like something where he can like stick out, but it still goes with the like color scheme and theme of your wedding. Like, I mean, my wedding, for example, were like dark green was like the color of my wedding, like dark greens with mixtures of like gold. So my like bridesmaids were in like an emerald green velvet, and we had the groomsmen in like an emerald green tuxedo.
Full on pants were green.
Full on, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I know everybody probably thought I was crazy, but I'm like, it fits the colors, and it looked so good.
Yeah.
And even my little ring bearer was in like a dark green like tuxedo, and he just like, it looked so good. And then I had my husband in a tuxedo where it was black pants and like the white dinner jacket with the black lapels.
Or like an ivory.
Yeah, an ivory. Right, yeah. I thought that it was kind of nice because it was different, just to like have him like stand apart but not be in like just the typical all black tux. But also and you could tell me what you think about this, like I feel like the suspenders are really in right now opposed to wearing the vest underneath.
True. Yeah, the vest is first of all, when you wear a tuxedo, the vest has to be a low cut kind of horseshoe shape vest. Cannot be a suit vest with a tuxedo. You're not supposed to see the vest when the tuxedo jacket is on and buttoned. The vest should be afterthought when your jacket is off.
Oh, that's interesting. I feel like a lot of people don't get that right.
A lot of people don't know that, yeah. And a lot of companies don't make custom tuxedo cut vests, which I think more should.
Yeah.
Now they probably don't because the vest isn't as high demand.
Right.
So I understand why they don't, but they would sell them. The suspender, I wear suspenders with suits all the time. I never wear a belt with a suit. I used to. It's just the belts are cumbersome and heavy, and they're too utilitarian for how comfortable a suit should be.
Right.
Suspender with a tuxedo fits perfectly. I would avoid silk. Silk is, you get it dirty. It's wicked hard to clean. Dry cleaners won't do it. Especially white silk suspender, forget it. There's no stretch. There's no, it's terrible. You get an elastic, either 100% elastic or like a cotton elastic blend. White or black is fine. Button closure, don't do the clip on. It's, it's like you do that if you're 14 and getting married, but not when you're 35. But keep in mind that when you wear the suspenders, its primary purpose is for comfort. It's for ease of the day. Last thing you want to do is pull up your pants. What if you get a picture of yourself pulling up your pants? So you look ridiculous.
Yeah.
So just do yourself a favor and let your shoulders hold your pants up for you.
Yeah. And I think it's also like good for posture, I feel like too. I feel like it like just looks nice.
Your shirt stays tucked in, sometimes a little better because like you can have a wider waistband because your waist isn't holding up your pants, your shoulders are.
Yeah.
And when you have a belt, you gotta like kind of cinch it tight, which is a good reason to get a custom belt because you could adjustable length. Right. Adjustable length is crucial, otherwise you're stuck to the little holes. But say one hole is too big and the other's too small, you either eat a lot, eat less, or you just gotta tighten it up. And once you tighten it up, the shirt, you lift your arms and the shirt comes with your body. You put your arms down because it's tight around your waist. Now you get this pillow. You get this ridiculous, mushroom.
Yeah.
So the suspenders, muffin top. So the suspenders help with that. I think too many people think that suspenders are like associated with fat guys, which I think is ridiculous. I think
that's so weird.
It's very useful for guys with bigger stomachs because, like, the belt, and it doesn't, the pants sit up higher nicely. So, but it's not like exclusive to bigger guys. It's a way to hold your pants up. That's it.
It's a way to hold your pants up and wear for it.
Yeah, and it's elegant looking.
It is elegant looking. And I just think it's just like also fresher looking than like the vest. Like I just feel like, and I'm sure in a couple years we'll see the vest back.
I hope
and
so.
Instead of like the, the suspenders, and it will be just a different look.
Well, you never do instead of. You would do as
do
well
both?
as. Yeah.
Oh.
Because suspenders are considered underwear. So you don't want to show your suspenders. That's why when you button your jacket, no one will know you're wearing suspenders.
Know you're wearing them.
You'll know, you pop them open and stuff. But it's like a corset, because corset's considered underwear. Now,
right.
When you wear it out, it's now kind of trendy. Same thing like suspenders. But the suspenders would be basically behind the vest. You wouldn't see the suspenders at all.
Got it.
They would still have the function of your pants being up and not falling and blah blah blah. But the vest as well is a nice little touch. You either do vest or cummerbund, those two things. The cummerbund is like the
I know
crumb catcher, they call it, going around your waist.
I had to wear one of those when I was in like chorus in high school.
Really?
Yeah. So it's been a minute since I've had to wear one, but I don't see those often now.
Not at all.
Not a thing.
No, that's the thing. Like if you're introducing a cummerbund to your tuxedo. Do the wingtip collar, do the patent leather shoes, do the whole shebang,
shoes. Yeah.
Yeah, I would steer away from them if you're not doing the cummerbund thing, only because the same thing like we were talking about earlier with the sockless tuxedo.
Right.
Is like you're going like kind of classic around your waist, and then the rest is modern. Just go with a theme. Go with a theme.
Exactly. No, I agree with you. What are your thoughts with the ties? Like a regular tie, a bow tie. What do you think?
If the lapel of the jacket is satin, bow tie, never necktie. A necktie is meant to cover the front placket of the shirt where the buttons are. But with a tuxedo, the tuxedo shirt options are covered front with the buttons hidden by a piece of fabric, so it's just white flat front, or studs. Either one should not be covered. Therefore, do not wear a necktie that covers it.
Yeah, no,
bow
that
tie.
makes sense. I love a bow tie. I'm like
Preferably
bow tie
learn how
or
to tie
bust.
It.
Yeah.
Yeah, bow tie or bust. Like
bow
tie
tie
or
bust.
Yeah.
Like I just like I know this makes me sound like kind of crazy, but like when you work in the wedding industry, you want to see things a certain way. So like I told my husband, I was like, this is like what I want you to wear, And luckily, like, he's pretty easygoing. So he was like, okay.
He wore the green?
No, he wore the white dinner jacket with the black lapel and black bow tie, white shirt, and black pants, black shoes.
And the groomsman wore the green.
Groomsman wore the dark
green.
green.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I know.
You don't see that very often, a color for the groomsman and then the black and white for the...
I know. I had to do it different,
Yeah.
Couldn't be like everybody else.
Yeah. About the bow tie, preferably tie it yourself. Don't do the pre-tied bow tie. It comes packaged flat, and it just looks like you're wearing a piece of, like somebody printed a bow tie on a piece of paper and just like stuck it to your neck. Get the tie. Learn how to tie it. If you can watch 4 seasons of whatever you're watching, you can learn how to tie a bow tie.
You can watch a YouTube video on it
in an hour. Figure it out. And also don't. When you tie a bow tie, when you buy the version that you tie yourself. You select the size of your neck on the bow tie. Select that size. You got to measure your neck, do it, select the right size. I made the mistake, and I learned my lesson, of thinking that if you select a bigger size than your neck, your bow tie will be bigger. The tie itself will be larger. It doesn't happen. It just sinks and falls. Not a good look.
No. So when it comes to like getting something custom for yourself for your wedding day as the groom, how long in advance should someone come in?
I love this. I love this question.
I hate when people do things like rushed. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people do.
Well, too many people do.
Or they're booking things so far out, and it's like, I don't know, I got to see you in 2 years, so let's see what you look like.
Give yourself time. Yeah, I mean, I say 6 months.
Okay.
That's a nice amount of time to, you might change your mind on what you want, which is, I'm not saying that's bad. If you change your mind, it's like, okay, you have a tuxedo for future events and you'll have time to get something else.
Right.
For, a remake, if there's an error, factory error, stylist error, you have time for that. You have plenty of time for alterations. It's like, the last thing you want to do is put that extra time that you could have got it in the beginning. Don't put it at the end before your wedding. Like put it in the beginning. Like, do it early so that month, 2 months or whatever from the time you get the garment to your wedding day, you're doing a lot of other things at that time. The last thing you want to do is come in for a fitting and worry about if it's right, and just do it early. Get out of the way. Minimum 2 months. Okay. Maximum a year.
I think
that's a long time. A year's a long time.
Yeah. I feel like 6 months is like a very normal and decent time frame, especially when people are typically booking their weddings around a year out. Some people a year and a half, some people 2 years. I don't know how, but no.
Also, just keep in mind, when you buy chicken at a store or whatever, I imagine, I don't know if you buy chicken on the street, I guess it depends on where you are. It comes in like a little package, but it used to have feathers. It used to be squawking around and living its life and doing its thing. Same thing with your suit, okay? It used to be a sheep, okay? Now the sheep had to be sheared and it had to be made into fabric and it had to be shipped to so-and-so and cut and sewn and all of these things. That takes time. Unless you're walking into an H&M, buying a tuxedo for $15 and wearing that to your wedding, you need to give yourself time because these things it takes time to cut a piece of fabric. It takes time. Keep that in mind. It's not magic.
And I'm sure that, I'm sure you'll relate to this, is people also need to understand that when you do things without giving enough time, there's rush fees. There's a lot more money tacked on.
And stress. For me as well. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For all of us. Just save yourself the hassle.
Definitely save yourself the hassle. Do things in enough time. And I feel like for our grooms out there who like to take their time, 6 months is a really good time frame when you're probably engaged for a year. You got a 6 month time lapse to sit back and not do that much. So
dude, if you're like, oh, I'm just so busy doing these things, it's like you're too busy to get the clothes that you're gonna wear for this day that your bride to be is probably like thinking about every single day. Take 2-3 hours.
I can't tell you the amounts of stories that I hear of all these couples that are too busy. And I'm like, we all have jobs, we all have things, we all get married, we all, so you know what, plan your time better and make sure that, this is the way that you're going to get the products that you want.
Yes, and fit the way you want it to fit, look the way you want it to look.
Yeah.
And you're spending how much on videographers, photographers, and then every picture you're it's all weird here, and because you didn't have enough time to do it properly.
Absolutely. I feel like for all the money that people spend on their weddings, it's like you want to make sure that you do it right. It's true. It's an expensive day, but it should be the best day of your life, in theory.
Well, yeah. It depends what happens the day of.
In theory, take that with a grain of salt. I'm not at every single person's wedding, but
yeah, I don't hear I don't very often, but it's happened. I'm sure of it.
What did I want to ask you? Before this, we spoke about how you got married during the pandemic. I also got married during the pandemic. I love to hear from wedding professionals about their wedding day, because it's funny how every wedding pro's day looks totally different.
Wedding
every wedding professional's
Oh,
like wedding day
gotcha.
like always looks different. You know, you have some who like go all out, like balls to the wall, like on their day, and then you have some who are like, no, I eloped because I like absolutely like didn't want to deal with like the headache. So it was just like me and my partner, and that's it. And everybody's kind of got a different story about their wedding day and like what that was like. And I'd obviously love to hear from you what your wedding day was like and what you wore, you know, like.
Funny you should ask.
We need all the tea, you know?
Yeah, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to provide it. So, you know, my wife's from New Zealand. You know, she was born in LA, but she grew up in New Zealand, and her family's in New Zealand. So they couldn't come to America during that time because Jacinda Ardern had locked the country down. They couldn't leave.
Wow.
So my family's in San Francisco, California, and they could have come, but there's no way we would have had our wedding with my family there. And not hers. That wouldn't have happened. So we decided to do a New York City Hall wedding, and then do a bigger wedding in Montenegro.
Nice.
And so we're having our wedding party it'll be a year in September, where our families will meet for the first time. So those first 2 weddings were just us 2. And some friends for the City Hall wedding, but the Montenegro was just us. The City Hall wedding, you know, she wore a sky blue double-breasted suit and with a gold corset, which I thought was very cool, very ahead of its time.
Very cool.
Yeah, they now the baby blue suit is like getting popular. She wore it last year.
She was the
just so you
trend
know.
starter.
She definitely. And the corset, she got like a metal, you know, it was an official corset. It wasn't like a fashion, it was a real corset. And it was tight and it was hard, it was interesting. I found a lining that I liked. I rarely do this. I found a lining that I liked, and I found the fabric to match the lining as opposed to the other way around. Usually you find the fabric that you like and you think about the outside. I thought about the inside first. The lining was this. I love monkeys. I've been studying monkeys. I read about monkeys. I know so much about apes and primates. And
this is so different than where I saw this going.
Really, yeah. I love them. So it's my stand-ups, a lot of it's about primates and the human primate and all this stuff. And so I found this lining that I needed. Just all of these monkey faces, photographs of monkeys doing funny faces. And I thought I need this lining so bad. So I was just looking through fabric to find a fabric. I found this linen blend, this linen wool silk blend. Now a tan to go with the tan of the lining. Casual patch pockets, you know, belt loops. Because I said I never do belt, but it was like very casual suit.
Yeah.
Unlined a little bit, like just partially unlined to get some airflow. And I did the wool silk linen as opposed to 100% linen because 100% linen wrinkles like immediately, and it adds this casualness that I didn't want for the wedding. I wanted a little formality, but I didn't want 100% wool formality. So I did the blend, and the silk adds a little sheen to it, and the wool stops it from wrinkling so much. So that was the City Hall one. We got pictures. I wore Paul Evans double monk strap brown boots, which I'm a huge fan of boots and suits, man. Boots and suits. And it was cool, you know, it was great. We had a great time. Montenegro, I wore a double-breasted black tuxedo, full-on black tuxedo. And I got the shoes. Crockett & Jones makes these shoes called the Camberleys or Chamberleys. I think Camberley. They're the shoes that James Bond wore in Spectre.
Ooh.
And they're double monk strap black leather boots, you know, like, but they're different. Like the straps are, if you don't know, monk straps are just buckled boots. They're originally like workman shoes. So you just didn't have time to tie. Your laces would break, and so for people who worked hard, they just wore these strapped shoes. And so, but Crockett & Jones makes these ones that are like really sexy and really high, and so I wore those, and we just got married in this. I call it like the most hip Game of Thrones town I've ever been in. That's where we got married. It was like 700-year-old stone town filled with cats. Like cats were everywhere. My wife loves cats. She has a tattoo of a cat on her wrist. And there's this great photo that we have that was taken by our photographer there of a cat on the train of her dress. And the city is in the background. And It was incredible. And for the party that we're having in a couple of months, where our family's going to meet because they couldn't, for the weddings, I'm going to wear a Skobal image. Image is the name of they call it a bunch. Whenever you have a book in menswear and they have, a bunch of fabric in it, it's called a bunch. And it's from the Image bunch. And Image is known for like really reflective fabric.
That's
And it's a navy or midnight blue, just single-breasted shawl collar tuxedo, white bow tie, wingtip collar, and the James Crockett & Jones. Which I gotta tell you something about the James. This is the funniest and the worst thing in the world. So this Crockett & Jones makes these two hole cut, which is the style of shoe you should wear with a tuxedo. Hole cut Oxford, just no seam, one seam in the back, flat, simple, not shiny, just hole cut, regular leather shoe. Now, Crockett & Jones makes two versions, the Alex, which is about $700, and the James, which is $1,200. And I was wondering what the difference was. I was in the shop in Soho, and I put them both on, and I noticed the James was like so comfortable. I was like, why is it so comfortable? He said, well, the cow is a little younger. And I thought, oh, it's a baby cow. He didn't say baby cow, but he said baby cow. He said baby cow. But hopefully they ate it, I guess. I don't know. But I have the shoes, and they're great. Only one of 500. Only
That
500
is
pairs
special.
ever
Wow.
made. They were made in commemoration of the James Bond movies.
Oh
and
my
the
God.
relationship between Crockett & Jones and the James Bond movies. And they're just so sexy and so comfortable.
Are you guys doing your wedding here in New York City?
Yeah, we're gonna do the party at oh shoot, I don't remember the name of the place.
It's the bride who always remembers.
Yeah. The Raines Law Room at the William, I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
the Raines Law Room. It's basically just a small, really intimate, like 40-person room.
Nice.
Yeah, my family's from New Zealand, my family's California, a bunch of friends, 22-year-old to 78-year-old. So that range. It's going to be pretty cool.
It'll be a good time.
Yeah.
And it'll be nice that you guys will have both of your families in after just like such craziness with the pandemic and all like borders and everything being like on lockdown.
We have a photographer, Jackie Obrecht, and she, we put a deposit down, and then we decided to get married in Montenegro. So now we have this photographer. We're like, what are we going to do? Should we just walk around New York City and get some pictures of us one day? And then we decided to have this party, and we're like, photographer at the party.
Perfect.
Photographer
Yeah.
at the party.
I always say with like photography and videography, like you'll never have like regrets to have too many photos.
Yeah.
Like I never thought like I'd be the type to like document so many things in my life, but over the past like year and a half, like, since like meeting like my now husband and like getting engaged, getting married, now like being married, like I feel like it's nice that we've done all these like little photo shoots in places that we've gone, like even like on our honeymoon, like we were in Barbados and we did like some a photo shoot over there. And it's nice because you have like all you have at the end of the day after all of these events is the photos to look back on.
Yeah,
and the videos
videos.
to look back on. Yeah.
What's your opinion on, I couldn't agree more. What's your opinion on the photos versus video if you could only do one?
That's such a hard call. See, I'm like a big believer you need both. Like I feel like for your wedding day. I feel like you're never gonna like, I feel like you regret not having the video than you would regret having it than paying for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to do video because like I don't want to spend the money. And I'm like, it's the best money well spent because I know like in my family we're really big on like these home videos that like we've had like growing up. And my aunt and uncle, like when they got married, which is like over 40 years ago, they didn't really do videos at that time, but my uncle, like my mom's brother, like videoed their wedding. And it's funny because you could see videography has come a very long way. So it was kind of like poor quality, But it's funny, like I see in that, like my parents were younger at that time, like they weren't even together, but they both happened to be at that wedding. So you kind of see them in the video, and they're both like young, and it's funny, and it's like before like they were even together, and it's like had that video never existed, I would have never seen that. So.
You know, it's funny you said that poor quality, and you know it wasn't at the time.
No.
And that's probably what's going to happen now. I mean, it seems that's what always happens. I don't know how clear an image can get.
It's come a long way, even over like the last 5 years.
Definitely.
If you look at somebody's photography from their wedding 5 years ago, and you look at it now, you're like, oh my God, like
depth and
yeah,
all that.
I mean, the clarity, like it's just.
So they there's like I studied psychology in college, and there were these tests of like. What's the limit that you can identify a face? How blurry can a face be and you can still identify who it is? And it could be next to nothing. You could just be looking at a bunch of splotches. Bill Clinton. That's Bill Clinton. And then the picture gets clear, sure enough, it's Bill Clinton. Same thing, so like funny. Those, just because it's 40 years ago and it's kind of grainy.
You'll still know,
Yeah, I mean, an image, it's the communication in between like that moment and the future is essentially what all this stuff is the communication to the future. And you know, the same thing like you were saying about, you know, the money being spent. Two parts. One, you know, will you buy the opportunity to experience that memory again?
Right.
Buy it.
Yeah.
Buy the opportunity to experience that memory.
I'm like, listen, I know my wedding day was like expensive. I'm sure. Well, no, not I'm sure. My husband, couple days leading up to the wedding was like, oh my God, like I just can't believe like how much money we're dropping. On the day of the wedding, he was like, I wouldn't have changed a thing. Thank God we did what we did and we got who we got because it made the whole experience. And then, you know, in the weeks after our wedding, like, you know, and now it's like 6 months past, you know, getting the photos, getting the video, getting the trailer. Like, it's all, like, it's...
Can't wait to see it.
It's exciting. It's actually sad now because, like, now we're literally at the end. There's nothing after... not to be like, there's nothing after this. Of course, there's, like, a whole life with my husband, you know? But I'm like, we got the video. We got all of our photos. Like, how else am I going to relive this day now? Like, it's literally over now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's why I told him we had to plan a vacation.
Good. Yeah. And then get the photos for those for that trip.
I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I never thought I would feel like those like wedding blues that people talk about because I'm like, I work in the wedding world, so I'm doing this all day. But then when it comes to your day and you're like, now everything is done, everything is passed, and we have everything back, there's nothing we're waiting on.
Yeah.
Like it's, you know, and then I was like, oh my God, it's really sad. And every month, as every month passes, I'm like, can you believe we've been married for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and this weekend it's 6 months. And I'm like, can you believe we've been married for 6 months? Like, where did 6 months go?
Yeah.
So.
You know, I feel like the time being married, I mean, it's been 9 months for me now and for us. And that time is marked by like the names you call each other. Have you ever noticed like you used to call your husband something and then you even forgot what those names are? It's like way in the past. You used to say this thing, you used to make a sound, you know, and those are just long gone. And now it's some new thing.
I like promised myself I would never be this like pet name person, you know, but now all of a sudden I'm like, honey, did you do this?
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
and I feel like I'm like, I became my mom overnight.
That's how you say it, I think. Honey? Yeah.
Honey?
Yeah.
Where is this? And that's just...
Yeah. You know, and about the name thing, like when guys buy their tuxedos or their suits or their wedding gear, they often have the option to monogram it somewhere. Put their initials or whatever. 80% of people put their initials, you know. Oh, just put AJP and just, I don't want to think about it. But like, put the name that she calls you.
Yeah, that's sweet. I like that.
Something of it.
Yeah, I like that. I think that that's like a really nice, like sentimental touch.
Yeah. And also, when you're buying your wedding clothes and you're like, oh, it's a little too much, and the difference between what you want and what you're willing to spend is probably not astronomical. It's probably like $500, maybe $1,000. You know.
Yeah.
Just what I like to do, and this might be the salesperson in me a little bit, is you know, take whatever that $500 is, whatever that difference is between what you might get and what you really want, and then divide it by months. And then you'll get like $40 a month. Divide that by week, and you spend, that's like a burrito.
Right.
It's just nothing. Just get what you want. Get what you want.
Get what
You're going to have
want.
this thing for like 10, 15 years. Just do
100%. Yeah. No, I'm like a big believer in like investing in the right things. And I also feel like, you know, with a tuxedo, you have other opportunities to wear it, like to other functions that are black tie. Like, my dad wore the tuxedo that, like, he would, I don't know how he was able to fit into it, but he was very proud of himself. Like a tux that he had, it was from so many years ago to my wedding. Like he was able to do that.
And it looked good.
Yeah, it looked good. I mean, classic black, you know?
Yeah, great.
But like we still all couldn't believe, like, how did you fit in like your tuxedo all these years like later? Like I want to be saying the same thing that I like fit in my wedding dress all these years later, you know?
Yeah, and I will have no say in any of that.
Like I'm just like I'm like that is so tough. Like but yeah, no, and it like it goes a long way, you know, and it makes sense to make the investments that you know will go a long way.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel that way about dresses? Because I feel like that the range of cost of dresses is way bigger.
It's definitely way bigger.
Yeah,
so
greater.
When I was going to wear my mom's dress. Like, little backstory. So actually, my dad's like grandparents were in the like wedding dress industry. Obviously we're talking like many years ago. So my grandma on my dad's side had the most gorgeous dress with like this real silk satin like bottom that I just, like every time I saw a picture of it, I'm like, that I would have taken that dress and just like shortened the sleeves and worn it as is. That dress got ruined in a fire. So I never even saw that like in person. So I thought it would be really nice to wear my mom's dress. And when I put it on, it was like, I could have made it whatever I wanted, but like, it was a little different than what I felt like was for me. And I felt like sad about that. Like, I was just like, well, now like, so I decided to go to a dress store. And like local to me, I went to Blossom Brides. It's like one town over from where I live. And it's a very like one-on-one kind of service, which I like. I didn't want the experience where there were like 700 other brides around. I wanted like just by myself, me and my mom, me trying on all different styles. I tried on a bunch of different styles, but when I put on this one, it was Essence of Australia was the brand, and it was all satin. Very simple dress, classic, sweetheart, form-fitting, went out a bit with the really nice buttons all the way up the back. Just classic. I wanted an off-the-shoulder sleeve. So I was in between two Essence of Australia dresses. The other one had an off-the-shoulder sleeve already there and was a little bit more form-fitting. I had really liked that one. My mom loved the strapless one. I brought my dad back a week later. I'm like, I tried on both. I didn't tell him what my mom liked better, and I thought he was going to agree with me. He loved what my mom chose. So I went with the strapless dress. I really valued both their opinions, and I had my seamstress create an off-the-shoulder sleeve for me.
Wow.
And I couldn't find the fabric that I wanted. I didn't want lace. I didn't want it to be just a satin strap. That I found these flowers on Amazon, and she created this really nice thick off-the-shoulder sleeve.
That's kind of cool.
And it was funny because you and I have spoken about, I'm good friends with Lauren from Les Laurier, and she was actually going to design the dress for me out of my mom's dress. And I showed her photos of some dresses I tried on, and she was like, Estee, I'm looking at you in this dress. This is your dress. Go buy it. This is your dress. She's like, I could make it for you, but this is it. This is it. And like, I'm like, when your friend who's a designer says that to you, you know you have to go with it.
Yeah.
And she ended up turning my mom's dress into a bridal robe for me, which was very special.
Yeah.
And it was like silk, and then we used all the lace from the dress for the cuffs and like up the sleeve and like down this way. It was really, so it was special because I was still able to use it. But then I had my moment with like my own dress, like something different.
That's it. I don't think we get much of that with menswear, being able to recycle it like that. It's interesting that you can do that.
Well, I'm a big fan of like, especially when you are spending so much money, like a wedding dress is very expensive. I fortunately like found something that wasn't a crazy price. I think I spent like $1,300 on my dress, which in today's times, like people are spending $5,000 and $10,000 and $30,000, and I'm like, here's $1,300. But I did, because of the time period with everything with COVID, and I decided to look for my dress after the summer because I had, you know, in this industry, like the craziest summer of my life last summer, just back to back to back to back weddings to work. So I bought it in September, and my wedding was February, the following February. I did have to pay a rush fee.
It does sound, in the bridal world, it sounds like a rush fee.
I did have to. It still made it like, you know, listen, once you add in alterations and you add in all that, it becomes pricey, but it was still on like the way more affordable scale.
Yeah. You know, with guys, it's, you have to look at photos on Pinterest or something, you know, like I suggest if you're not getting a black tux, you know, which by the way, if you're getting a black tux, there is a difference in cost of fabric, and just because it's black, they're not all the same.
Yeah.
Some of the more affordable fabrics light may bounce off of them, and in your photos you might look like you're wearing like a dark gray tux. So a more expensive, like Skabal is very good with color. They have really rich, deep color. And they're actually, they supply all the fabric to the movie industry because it's for menswear. I don't know if they do anything else. They might, but they adopt light really well. So the harsh lights that they use, and it's better for that. But if you're not getting a really traditional tux like that, then what do you wear? So my suggestion is just, you know, if it's gonna be a suit, then just type the color you like and the word suit, and just scroll through and give those pictures to your stylist. You know? Give them to your stylist, let them know I'm looking for something like this, and can you make it but with this change, or can you make exactly this, or do you have something like it but darker? You know, give some guidance, help us out, you know, and we can do a better job.
And now with Alton Lane, what are the hours here? Like, do people make appointments to come in? Is that kind of how that works?
It's always appointment based, because you know I don't like overlapping appointments at all. Sometimes it happens when somebody shows up late and somebody shows up early.
Right.
Now I don't like that though, because you want 100% of the attention. You know, it's you have a lot of questions, and an hour seems like a long time on paper. It's not. When you're deciding on a lining and you're like, I really like the monkeys, but I'm not sure if I can do the monkeys, or if it's going to clash with colors or whatever. You could be there. It could be in multiple appointments at that point. You know, and if you live in Jersey or somewhere else, you got to come back. It's another 4 hours in toll, and just just show up on time, not early. Show up on time. Early is not helping me. Early is actually causing issues. Show up on time, and then hopefully that hour is enough, and show up with some, like I said, some inspiration pics, etc. But yeah, it's appointment based. Alton Lane is appointment based. Most design
I would say so.
Appointments, and basically how it works in the made to measure field is you pick the fabric, you pick all the details, you do a fitting, and sometimes you put clothes on, sometimes you don't, sometimes you're just measured, sometimes it's both, and then we make the garment. It ships from wherever it's made, and then we call you in for the second fitting, and that's when we do little tweaks and make sure that your shoulders are look
Yeah.
good and there's not too many creases or
The
whatever.
grooms
That's
are getting just as many fittings as the brides.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. But the, it is appointment based. I mean, best way is just email. I mean, personally, like if you book appointments with me, it's just rolando@altonlane.com because that's where I am currently. But, other than that, it's just, my name's Rolando Roblero, so you just figure out a way, I mean, you could do it like really formally, algorithmically, and just go through the website and do all these things, but like, you might not see the time available, or, you're subject to the
they're better
computer.
off just emailing you direct so that they can get in here
it.
like at the earliest time.
Yeah, Rolando@altonlane.com, or like just, and then that's how the relationship builds. And if I start designing for another company or for myself or whatever it is, then hopefully by that point, you trust my style advice, and you trust that I know your body. I know that you've been I got to tell you, this is crazy. You don't know things about your body, like for guys, I should say, specifically. Is like I fit this one guy. He's like 75 years old. He's a carpenter. And his right arm measured almost 4 inches longer than his left arm.
Wow.
And part of it was because when you get older, you tend to lean, and so you're leaning on one side, so it just appears longer because your shoulder's lower. But his was because he was a carpenter for 40 years, and he's swinging a hammer, and the weight of that hammer at the furthest point extended his arm over 40 years.
Oh my gosh.
So he just had a super long arm. But you had shoulder surgery, you had hip surgery, and that's why these places exist, to fit you in a way that, the template cannot.
Yeah, no, and it's also like good quality items. Like, I mean, things like that are just not one size fits all. It's women always talk about this. It's like you have to go get measured for a bra and it ends up. It's not like a cheap thing when you're going to get one, but do you want it to look like it fits you or not?
Do you want it to fit you? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that you're wearing every day. So you should want it to, fit correctly, and it should be the same thing in menswear. You should want to feel comfortable in whatever you're wearing.
I heard wires are out. Is that true?
I mean, maybe for some people, but I wouldn't dare.
Really?
I don't think I would. Listen, I think if you're smaller on the top, go do what you gotta do. But if you're bigger on the top, I think you need that support. I don't think I would be ready to take that jump, but but to each their own.
I was gonna say take that plunge.
To take that plunge. That is not a plunge I'm taking. Yeah. But I mean, to each their own. Everybody's different with that. But I do see that being a trend. But, much like the sockless trend, it is just not one that I'm into.
Look, I just got on the sockless thing, but only with suede loafers, not with black leather.
That's
nudity and black leather is for its own purpose.
Yes. Well, Rolando, first I want to thank you for coming on the podcast today, because this is a lot of fun, and I'm sure that I will be seeing you soon at some upcoming, bridal fashion week things, because that's coming up really soon, October. And is there anything else that we should look out for from you? Anything that...
My wife and I, Kelsey, we have a YouTube channel called Kelsando. Kalsando. It's a vlog for travel and fashion, and we met doing stand-up comedy.
That's cool.
Yeah, so she's very very funny, and just goofy kind of publics. Not pranks, but just living our lives, but also entertaining. Anyway, so that's a good place to follow. We saw Tiesto the other day, and it was just nuts. If you ever want to see the craziest live show and don't want to go see it in person and experience the 3-4 days of hearing loss that I experienced afterwards, then watch it, the video. Or if you want to make an appointment at Alton Lane with me, it's Rolando, ROOLANDO at altonlane.com. That's the email, and just email me and say, hey, how you doing?
Mention that you saw him on the podcast, obviously.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And just say hi. Say hi.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, I'm not a robot, Say something. Say what you ate for breakfast, and then I'll be like, yeah, it sounds good. Careful with the carbs or whatever. Or you can go online as well. You just get kind of round robin. It just goes to whichever stylist. But if you want to work with me specifically, then email. Other than that, I took a break from stand-up. I wrote a book called, it was a working title. What's the name of the new one? Basically, it's a journal during the pandemic of what was going on in the world during the pandemic. So I'm in the editing phase right now, so I'm excited for that to come out. But I'll get back into stand-up in like 6 months. And
it's funny that you do stand-up because that was one of my dreams growing up.
Really?
Mm-hmm. But listen, it's still a little bit of a pipe dream, not gonna lie. We're just it's having the podcast is a little bit of giving putting one foot out there.
Yeah.
But I was so scared, if I do terrible, I think I might die of the embarrassment, and that's where.
I mean, when you first start stand up, you're chasing being comfortable.
Yeah.
And once you feel comfortable, that's when all of what you want to say is actually said. You always go up there with a plan to say something, and you could go up there and recite it like you're reading a book. The audience is not gonna like it because you're boring and there's no energy. But once you get comfortable, then you can memorize and you're not psyched out by this person staring at you right in the eyes. You know what I mean? My biggest problem when I started stand-up was sour faces. I couldn't stand sour faces. Somebody kind of mad about something, and he's not even looking at me. He's just looking in my general direction. But I took it personally, and that was a hard thing to overcome.
Yeah.
I'm not quite over it. I never will be. I just want everybody to just, be muted faces or happy. Pissed off faces don't. I tend, why? Because I feel like I'm going to start emulating it, and I don't want anything to do with that.
No. Yeah. No.
But it's fun. You should try it.
One day.
It's like the podcast. Just
do it. Just do it, right? Just rip the Band-Aid.
Don't think too much about it. Say something, think of a story, something else might come out. And then afterward, you might feel self-conscious or whatever, but you're definitely feel better.
Yeah.
You're not going to feel worse.
Yeah. I feel like once you do it the first time, then it probably rips the Band-Aid a little bit.
Yeah. It's not, you know what to expect.
Yeah.
It's like anything.
Well, thank you for coming on the podcast today. For everybody tuning in, thank you for listening. As you know, we put out a new episode every single Monday. You can listen to it on any of the podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere that you listen. Or if you want to see in person, you can watch our YouTube channel, The Bridetender, and you can see this episode in person where you can get a little glimpse of Alton Lane and see me and Rolando. Also, go make sure to check out Rolando's YouTube page with his wife, Kelsando. Kelsando, get a little bit of a glimpse into their comedy and just a little glimpse of Rolando so that you can come and work with him over here as your stylist. So also for Alton Lane, you can go follow on Instagram at Alton Lane. You get a little flavor of everything that they offer and all the different locations that they have around the country because there are many. So even though we're here at, one of the New York flagships, if you live outside of New York, there are many other locations that you can check out. If you're not already following me on Instagram, please go follow me at The Bridetender for all fun facts on the wedding industry, ways to save money on your special day, and of course, hiring the best in the business. Until next week, mix yourself a cocktail, slide into my DMs with questions you want answered on all things weddings. Stay sane, stay healthy, and we'll catch you next week. Bye.
Woo!